Hello, everyone. My name's Jared. I wanted to talk a little bit about how my car sale went. This last quarter, I entered in negotiation to sell my car to a coworker after blowing the engine up. I had babied this car every 3,000 miles, oil change. It is a 2004 Subaru, so I hit the wall on it, I guess. It had about 250,000 miles and started having some serious rattling, sputtering in the engine. Um, but like I said, I took good care of it. Every 3,000, 5,000 miles or so, I got it maintenanced. It just, it served its tour of duty, I guess. But with that in mind, I had to sell it. Uh, because of the engine trouble, it became undrivable. I got it diagnosed, and it turns out it was had damage to the short block and the head gaskets. I paid initially $3,200 when I bought it, which would have been June 2019. I had been using it in my capacity as a in the capacity of my previous line of work, which was a pet care service technician. I managed my family's pet care service company. I was driving a lot of it. I put at least 60,000 miles on it in those 5 years that I owned it. It was fully paid off, but I did have to do some repairs or pay for some repairs to it. I switched out the transmission, the windshield, the tires, and I had a monthly brake payment or brake replacement payment for it for about $120. The repair cost estimate that the dealership gave me was $7,700. The trade-in value estimate that the dealership gave me was about $100. So both were totally unacceptable. I needed to find a buyer for my car who would offer cash and to take the brake payment on. The parties involved in this are myself and Mark, who was a coworker of mine at the time in my previous job. He seemed like a very laid-back guy, and because of his manner, I was able to give him a lot of benefit of the doubt, but he had a lot of financial instability from alimony payments, child support, and legal and medical fees. He had a traumatic head injury some years back and also a criminal background. These things kind of made me question a little bit. But he was a very laid back dude, and I like to consider myself a good judge of character, so I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he was an exceptional mechanic technician in his own right from previous employment at a garage. For my own part, I'm a full-time college student, full-time job holder. I work in sales. I don't have any criminal convictions, but I have a lot of traffic citations, and I needed cash. I needed to reduce my expenses. I was pretty straightforward in my intentions to Mark that we were going to follow the lawful transfer of ownership procedure with the DOL, and through my AAA membership, I'd be able to get the car to his residence proper. For preparation of the negotiation, I decided to establish what value my car had through Kelley Blue Book and the Subaru dealership as well. I also utilized some resources with my cousin who fixes cars and flips them for a living. He told me to just junk it, so I started hitting local junkyards, finding somebody that would give me a decent price and take over the brake payment. I wasn't able to find any of those. I put the car on Craigslist again, seeing if somebody would offer me cash and to take the brake payment, and I couldn't find anyone. So with that in mind, I decided to enter into negotiations with Mark. As an overview of the situation with Mark, it's not, our negotiation is just for the car. It's not tied to any other transfer or transactions of property or assets. It's just about the car. It involves a scarcity of resources, cash for both of us, and the value of my car for me, as well as the function of the car itself. It's not drivable, but it can be fixed for a price. It's a negotiation of transaction and opportunity. With an official title of the car, the negotiation can be ratified by the DOL for the registration and for the acknowledgement of ownership for the title. There's no real time restraints. We have both kind of taken our time. For Mark, it was about gathering $500. Spoiler alert, sorry. Gathering the cash needed. And for my own, it was taking the bus every day to work. And this is an unofficial contract, I guess, but with the ratification of the DOL, it becomes official. Negotiations took place mostly over text message. We met up for drinks for a couple of times to go over it and we would touch base with each other on Mark's financial situation. The objectives for me in this negotiation were to secure a one-off transaction with my coworker Mark for the sale of my car and the transfer of the monthly recurring brake payment, with a particular emphasis on the brake payment. The goals were to get the car and the title to Mark's house, relinquish my liability for the brake payment, and a single cash payment to me from Mark. My BATNA was honestly to just be happy with getting the liability of the brake payment out of my hair. I would like to have had a cash payment for the vehicle itself, but really the transfer of the title and the monthly brake payment were my primary concern. Since $3,200 is what I paid in summer 2019, I asked for Mark for roughly half, which is kind of the average price of the engine that I found subtracted from what I paid for. Mark countered with $300. Nice guy. Which he must have known was the rough trade value estimate from Kelley Blue Book, if you're ignoring the engine problems. I said 300 was too low and asked if he could come up with at least 1,000. Mark said he could come up with 500. So what I did was asked for 2 payments of 500. On the first payment, he could get the title, the keys, and the brake payment. I'd go with him to the DOL to register the car in his name. He'd be liable for new tabs, and that I would get a promissory note from him for another $500 in no less than 60 days. Mark agreed. And I think we struck a reasonable deal. I would have, I think, probably rather asked for just a single payment that's higher than 500, but because of his questionable financial and legal history, I'm just not 100% sure that he'll still give me the other 500. He's getting the benefit of the doubt. He seems like a nice guy. I'm happy to take the first 500. Despite all this, my core objectives were realized. What I learned in this process is to know what you're representing, the value of your position. You have to have all of the facts, all of the information on your position in the negotiation, and to take the other person's character into consideration. Mark has had a lot of bad luck, I would say. And so because of that, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But is this going to be someone who is capable of delivering on their word? Is there trust and good faith between both parties? And to the best of my knowledge, Mark has never actively done me wrong, and he's seemed like a nice guy throughout our history together. So it's a wait and see. Changes in negotiation style. Identifying the BATNA was crucial in my negotiation. It's the maximum reservation point in your negotiation is where you have to identify what you're most comfortable giving up and what you're most comfortable getting away with. The balancing of gaining assets versus relinquishing liabilities was absolutely crucial in this negotiation, and the primary focus of it was in getting out of the break payment, like I've said. So thank you for your time. I'm happy and excited to look through your guys' negotiation videos, and have a good summer.